Alright, we are back for this final chapter. So we have a couple of things to cover here, but we're going to be starting with where we left off previously. So this is the concept that I will be pushing to a more final state. So you can do this with as many as many of the concepts that you've done so far as possible. If it's for your portfolio, the more the better, almost. And the idea is that so far, the design is alright. It's something that would be great for, if you were actually working. So you wouldn't need to push it really, more than that. But as we are not yet working in this particular scenario, we're actually, looking to get into this career of this concept artist career. What we want to do now is try to push it even more so that it really has a wow factor to it, so that it will catch the eye of people looking at it online, and it'll just look really good in the portfolio, basically. So what I'm doing now is I isolated this particular version. So this is the one that will be kind of pushing a little bit more. This was the most popular out of the three, so out of the red and the green one. So that's the reason why I decided to push this one to final, because seeing as it's the most popular, it has more chances at getting noticed, and so that's always what you should kind of look for. Now that I've isolated, so what I was doing basically is just getting rid of the extra lines, kind of like the dirt, like the nastiness on my layer. To be sure that my first layer, the top layer, is as clean as possible. All there is on there is the silhouette of the character, and then I have a background layer, which is going to be a very, very simple background, but I'm still going to put something there so that it's not just a flat color, just to make it look a little bit nice. Up until now, what I've been doing is just cleaning up a little bit, so cleaning up the edges, making sure my silhouette is as clean as possible. And now I am going to be adding a background in there. So what I'm starting with here is an image that I got off of Google, and what I'll be doing is I'll be using that as a base, but I'm not gonna keep it this way. I'm just gonna blur the crap out of it. It's just a nice, some noise in the background, basically, so that it's not as boring as just a flat color. So I'm tweaking it here just a little bit to make it kind of like into a more of a stage looking background. And what I'll be doing here is using tilt shift in the blur modes, so that the bottom is blurry but not as much as the top, to give kind of like this impression of depth. So, and I want also to put that character in a scene where she's supposed to be pretty small, so she's next to like a really, really big tree, because as we remember, these characters are really tiny. And yeah, so as you can see, it's just a really messy blur at this point, but it's a little bit more interesting than a flat color, and I'm just trying to add different colors in there, trying different blend modes to see what looks cool. I didn't have any real plan in mind. I'm just trying to find a possibly complementary color that works well with the purple and the cyan that I have on the main character. And so that's usually the idea, right? So if the character has a very dominant color, you'll try to go for a background that has kind of like the opposite, but a very desaturated version of that. At least that's what I normally do. In this case also, since she has a lot of dark fabric, you would want to have a background that is a lot brighter, so that she doesn't blend in with the background too much. In this case, we're trying to really feature this character. It's not we're not working on an illustration where everything has to kind of work well together. Right now we're really building a stage for this particular character, so she has to pop. So at the moment, the background is not ideal. We'll get back to it a little bit later. And so the process here is really, really simple in a sense. So it's a fun part of the process, because there's not much thinking involved. It's just cleaning up stuff. and you know, the more you do, the nicer the painting looks basically. So I'm just here. I have a lot of the outlines still visible. So what I'll be doing is just, you know, painting over these and trying to get those outlines to slowly disappear by just painting over literally everything that I have now, and just adding smaller details, you know, adding better material kind of details, so you know, subtle highlights here and there, tweaking the specular so that it looks like a particular material instead of just like a generic plastic. And you know, if I want to go with metals, then adding those extra reflections in there. So all those kind of stuff, all those kind of things. Also refining the face just a little bit more. So what we want here is to have this character look nicer up close, so that, you know, when you scale her down, when you actually upload her onto the intrawebs a little bit later, once you're done, then she looks really, really crisp and, you know, really polished. So the process here is not going to be very different, you know, as I kind of move through the character from top to bottom. It's going to be more of the same, so I'm not going to be talking about that the whole time. There are a couple things that I really want to talk to you guys about, and that is going to be kind of what to have in your portfolio, and then once your portfolio is really, really good, once we go over, you know, those things that make a really good portfolio, the kind of portfolios that the employers are going to be really excited about, then how to handle job hunting. You know, if nobody's coming to you, which is in the majority of the case what happens, you know, you don't have somebody coming to you and offering you jobs all the time. Most of the time you will be applying for jobs if you want to actually accelerate the process. It's always better than just waiting for things to happen. And so we're going to be going over the entire job hunting process, and then how to even handle the interview. So in my case, I have a lot of experience with interviews, being on the other side of the kind of the fence. So I've never actually really, well, I don't have much experience in interviewing because I've only done it really at Blizzard, and that was pretty much it. But I've interviewed a ton of people while working at Blizzard, and I can give you, I think, a lot of good pointers as to, you know, the things that you should definitely not do, things that you should do. Basically, yeah, like a bunch of pointers so that you can rock your interviews, because I've seen all kinds, really good ones, really average ones, and really terrible ones. And then after the interview, you know, how to even follow up, and yeah, basically how to try to get that job. So first thing I'm going to be talking about is portfolio. So where to post your art once it's done. So right now we're working on a piece. It's getting, you know, it's getting polished at the moment. Once we're done with it, it's going to be in a pretty good state where it looks like a, you know, kind of like a final illustration, like a really polished drawing, and something that you should be proud of, at least a lot more than in the stage that it was at before this entire process, because this is when you put in, you know, you put in hours in this, try to make it look really, really good. Add those, you know, for example, those nice highlights in there that I'm adding to really make that character pop, kind of help define the volumes even more, and just give it that, yeah, that wow factor, like I've been saying. So once you have that, what do you do with it? It's very, very important that you try to post on as many places as possible. Like I said at the very beginning, this is, you know, it's a game of exposure. So the more eyes on your art, the more likely that somebody in a position to hire you, or somebody that knows a person in a position to hire you, is gonna see that art, and that's when it becomes interesting. So we'll talk about that a little bit later, but right now, where to actually post. So there are a couple websites out there that you should by default always be uploading your content to, and those are one of the most popular ones now is ArtStation. So definitely have an ArtStation website, because there's just a lot of traffic there. So then if you don't like the platform for some reason, there's just a lot of eyes on that platform, so it's good to have your art there. and also have, you know, pretty nice looking portfolios. So it's simple and effective, and you know, you don't waste time trying to find stuff. It's all there, it's all in your face. So very good one. So artstation.com, get on there. CG Society also, so cgsociety.org, so get on there as well. They don't have nearly as big of a you know, traffic, but it's still one of the bigger portfolio websites out there. I would also recommend that you get on Behance, the Adobe portfolio platform. So that's another good one. This is a little bit more for designers, but there's a lot of illustrators on there. So, you know, definitely get on there. You're not wasting your time. You know, it's just more exposure. And then from there are DeviantArt, which is also one that I would recommend. DeviantArt is very, very crowded. There's a lot of artists because it's been around for a very long time. But as you know, as you've probably noticed from my story, both my jobs I got from my my art on DeviantArt, so I can never bash that website. You know, it's helped me a big deal in my career. So I would definitely upload your stuff on there. And that is, you know, as far as websites, portfolio platforms, that's pretty much it. You might discover new ones. So yeah, look around. There's a few more, but those are the ones that I'm just mentioned. Those are the big ones. And then you'll want to look at forums. Also, forums are really, really important. Just to get feedback. It's like free feedback, and it's always great to see how, you know, in forums there's always mini competitions and big contests, and it's always a good thing to kind of try to enter those and see how you do, you know, compared to your peers, and try to get better and better over time. And so as far as forums, there are, you know, various forums for 2D and 3D. Ones that I would recommend, of course, the one from QBrush, so QBrush.co. The forums on there are super awesome. The community, I'm not saying that because I run this website, but I've been very, very surprised as to how awesome the people are there. You know, in most forums it's just filled with trolls. Hasn't happened yet on QBrush, so it's a very, very welcoming and helpful community there. I would highly recommend that you go on there and you share your art and kind of, you know, be part of the community. There's also a community on CG Society, so it's not just a portfolio website, there's also a big forums there. For 3D, there's of course Polycount, there's a MapCore for environment artists. Those are the big ones that I would say, and also, you know, like ZBrush Central for 3D is especially really good. I almost forgot one of the most important. Now, get on social media. So social media is the easiest way to get noticed because everybody uses it. So it's not like those websites where only some people do, like just part of the community, part of the art community will be on one website and another part on another one. Everybody is on social media. So you really, really want to be on there. So first thing on social media that you need to do, you need to have a fan page or have your page set to public, and, you know, be uploading tons of art there and allow your page to have followers. For Facebook here, you should also join a bunch of groups that are on Facebook that have a lot of members. There are a lot of those. So, you know, groups like Level Up or Digital Artists, or search in Facebook those terms, so, you know, digital art or digital artists, or, you know, anything relating to art that you can think of, and you'll find groups that have a lot of people on there. And then try to find the good groups. You know, you can see if they're good or not by just browsing and seeing how many likes, you know, good images get, and you can kind of gauge how much traffic any particular group is getting this way. So, you know, if you have a lot of people, but then the engagement is really, really crap. So even if you have like a really good piece of art and it gets basically no attention, then that group is probably garbage. So move on. But yeah, now as far as groups, so there's a couple ones that are really good. So Level Up is really good. It has a lot of people. There's Brainstorm. That's another good one. There is also study groups like Virtual Plein Air, which is just people posting their studies, you know, for like environment stuff. And there's other ones like Daily Spit Paint, where you can see people doing like 30 minutes painting every day on a different topic. And so there's a bunch of different communities on Facebook that have a lot of people there. There's a lot of traffic, a lot of engagement, and it's nice because it's on Facebook. So there's just, you know, everybody's always on Facebook, and it's easy to post on Facebook. It's easy to share things. It's easy to spread your art. So definitely be on there. That's super important. It should also be on Instagram, even though, you know, the format is not the best for art. So definitely be on Instagram, on Twitter. Also, Twitter is kind of crap for art, but you know, use it. It's another one it's still very valid, still decent. So Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, those are kind of the big ones that you really want to be on. As far as social media, that's pretty much it. So, you know, it might start really slow, but, you know, the second that you have a hit on Facebook, on Instagram, or whatever, on Twitter, those tend to blow up pretty good, you know, if you post it to the right group, and if it's something that's really good. And the one last that I would probably recommend is having a Tumblr account. Tumblr is pretty nice because they have a bunch of different themes that you can use, and some of them are very simple, but perfect for art. So it'll be just like a wall of art, so you can just put all your stuff on there, and it's very easy for people to share, also to to share your art and to look at your art. So Tumblr, definitely I would recommend also. And but yeah, as far as, you know, putting your stuff online, I think that's a good starting point. You should definitely be on all of those platforms at least. So if you're not, you know, you're not using all the tools that are available to you. Now that you know where to post, what do you actually post? So what are the things that people like, that people look for in a portfolio? If you're an employer, if you're a recruiter, I've kind of hinted at it before, but you have to have that wow factor. It's just one of those things. You know, there's so much art everywhere that you need something. That you need to have something that's different from everybody else. You need to have something. You know, whatever it is. If it's your style that's different, that's interesting. If it's your, you know, just the quality of your art, just, you know, technically is just really awesome. If you do, you know, crazy environments. You know, if your strength is just with imagination, you know, you have like crazy imagination, or if you're really good with colors, or if you're really good at anatomy, you know, whatever it is, try to exploit that and try to show that off as much as possible. You don't want to be kind of average everywhere. You want to be average everywhere at the minimum, but you want to be really good at a couple things, you know, certain things that can really make you stand out from the crowd. You know, employers look for is colors. So colors, one of the things that will catch your eye the most, is the most obvious. And just like in nature, you know, if you're walking around and you see colorful things, your eye just tends to look at that right away. It's just one of those things. So you want to have as a majority of colored pieces, and then you want to have a majority of pieces that are pushed to, you know, the level that we're going to be pushing this particular character. So a very, you know, highly polished state. And what this shows off, even though, you know, we all know this is not going to be the quality that you're going to be producing at work if you were to get hired, it still matters because it still shows the potential what you have. You know, it's not like somebody that has a bunch of really nice sketches, but then you know that in his job you'll have to do sometimes things that are a little bit more pushed. If you don't know that he can do it, then that's a problem. It's a question mark, and then it's, you know, it's a risk. So you want to display all of your skills if possible. Some things that people ask often is kind of what are the good ratios and how many pieces to have in a portfolio, and like ratios of, you know, sketchy versus polished. So I would say that you want to have at least 70% of the content of your portfolio to be really polished. So something that could be, you know, promotional art, for example, something that you could put on, you know, on big posters, something that looks really nice, that, you know, clearly you spent a lot of time on. So I would say about 70% of that, and then 70% also should be probably in colors. So you want to have a big majority of your portfolio that's in colors. So 70 is a good a good number, a good ratio, like 70-30. So maybe 70% of stuff is in color, finished, not rough. And then you can have, you can have a 30% that is a lot looser, that is a little bit more, I guess, similar to what you would do in a work environment. So something that's not as crazy polished, but still, displays a good amount of skills. And then if you want to have some black and white pieces or like some sketches, yeah, keep it under 30% of the entire portfolio. And then as far as how much content to have in your portfolio, good numbers are, so for example, 20 is a little bit too small, so it's just a lack of experience at that point. That's what the number tells the employers. 30, I would say, is a minimum. So you want to have at least 30 pieces in your portfolio to give a good idea of your range of of your skills, and to show that you've actually done a certain quantity of work, and that generally equals with experience. 30 to 50. That would be a good numbers to keep in mind. If you go above 50 and even like 45 plus, that's starting to be a lot, but it's not necessary at that point. So depending on what you're applying for, if you're applying for a junior position, which I believe would be the case for most people watching this, having 50 pieces in your portfolio is a really good number to have. If you don't have enough, it tells people that you're not experienced, that you're too slow, that you're lazy because you didn't put the work to populate your portfolio. And if you have more than 50, then it's just you don't know how to select your own art. You don't know how to delete the old ones, get rid of the older ones that might not reflect your current skill level, and it's just at this point it takes too long to look through. So yeah, it's good to keep it tight, keep it tidy, have a portfolio of concentrated pieces, and keep it within a good number, like a healthy number. Now that you know what to have in your portfolio, now that you know where to have your portfolio, where to put your art, where to be seen, what do you do if nothing happens? You're out there, you're getting a lot of you've been posting for a while now, you're really involved in the art community, you're on a bunch of forums, you participate a lot in like the contests, you participate in discussions, you help other people with feedback, and then in return they help you with their feedback, so that everybody kind of grows together, and you're seeing really good progress, or maybe not, maybe you're seeing slower progress, whatever. As long as there's some progress, that's good. But what happens if regardless of all that, nobody contacts you like they did for me, for example? So how do you apply? So the first thing, kind of to link back to what I was saying at the very beginning of this tutorial, is you have to apply to places where it makes sense for you to apply to. Not just make sense in your head, in your mind, but actually make sense with the portfolio that you have. So if you have a lot of fan art, for example, that's a question that comes back really often. Fan art is good to drive traffic because it's often things that people are more predisposed to clicking on, if they already like it, as opposed to something that's original, like an original art that they don't know. But the problem with fan art, the trap, is that it's not stuff that usually helps you get the job. So it helps you get traffic, but it's one of those things that you have to phase out of your portfolio kind of like at some point if you want to keep a good ratio. I would definitely not have more than 10%, at the very max 30% of your entire portfolio be fan art, because especially for a concept artist position, concept art is all about the concept, how good your ideas are, and of course how good you can translate those on paper, on canvas. But yeah, just try to keep fan art to a minimum of your professional portfolio. And with that said, yeah, apply for what you want and build a portfolio that is geared towards that goal. Now, of course, something that's really important is where you are located in the world and what's available next to you. So I would say the first thing that you should probably do is look at what's available in your area and try to go from there. See what could potentially be a good match there, and then expand from there. And there are a number of websites that you can look that information up on, and one of them is this one. This is a really good website to find kind of like local studios. So if you don't know what's around where you live, what's around your area, then look this up, enter where you live, and then you'll be able to find all the options that are available to you without having to move. And then look at those options, see what there is, what kind of style they do, what kind of studio it is it games, is it movies, whatever you want. And then if your portfolio is not kind of in line with that and you're not ready to move, well, you know what to do. You need to make your portfolio kind of match what those studios might be looking for. Yeah, kind of the same thing if you're a freelancer. If you want to do particular book covers, if you want to work for Wizards of the Coast, something like that, one of those like other card games, or whatever it is, make art that they could potentially use for their games already. So one of the most scarier things as an employer is having to spend time and money trying to get an artist to fit your own style. So it's a lot better, it's a lot more reassuring if the artist shows a portfolio that is already kind of like plug and play. You don't have to invest anything in this artist. He's already got it. He's done his research. He knows what that particular studio is about. He knows what he likes, and that's what he's applying there. Have that portfolio, be that person. You don't want to be the one that is a bother. You don't want to be the one that's going to take resources, a lot of resources to get up to speed. So pretty obvious stuff. So build a portfolio for the job that you want. Now, let's say that we've done all of that correctly. So all of that has been done. You've posted everywhere online. You keep posting, and that's something that's important too. You have to keep posting always and never stop, because people will just forget about you. So you have to stay relevant. You have to continuously every week post something at least once a week. And then if you've been doing that, you're everywhere online, your portfolio is solid, you have a lot of really good art. You have between 30 to 50 pieces, and most of them are polished and finished and in color, and they're looking really, really cool. They have like a nice element to them. If all of that still hasn't been enough for you to get noticed, then you can probably try to apply. If you've gotten all those indications that very likely your stuff is ready, well, it's pretty simple. So the first things that you want to do is look at the requirements on the company's page. So whatever that studio is, you just look at their application process. So they all have a different one, and you just do that. So you apply to, I guess, as many places as you possibly can, as long as it's places that you would actually like to work. Just look at that map, see what's around you, what's in your area. Start to look there first, and then kind of go from there. So if you don't mind about relocation, then you can look at other studios in different areas, try to see what's a good match, and then just send in whatever is required for these studios. So that will, generally speaking, include a cover letter first. A cover letter should never be underestimated. You're applying for an art job, but the cover letter is super important. Writing is something that you will have to do during your job. You'll write countless numbers of emails. You might have to write up documents. You might have to write up speeches, depending. Anyways, it's the first impression, and it has to be really, really good. And then, of course, you will have to submit a resume. That's another one that's just, it's common sense. Try to focus on your experiences, on things that validate you as an artist. So, school does not validate you much. It's highly irrelevant in most cases. Any work experience that's not art related is also completely irrelevant. So don't use too much page for those things. Try to put on things that validates you as an artist, such as any kind of publications. So that's really, really, really good to have. So if you've been in a magazine, if you've done like some tutorials, if you've gotten like front row on like ArtStation or ZBrush Central. You've been featured in the front row, the first row of the website. If you've gotten a daily deviation on DeviantArt or like an award on CG Society, whatever it is, like some things that your potential employers look at and they can verify, and then that validates you as an artist. That's something that the art community has decided to give you because in recognition for your work. That's always the good stuff. That's always the kind of stuff that you want to focus on and really put in your resume. Anything else, nobody gives a crap. So and if you don't have those kind of things, if you don't have those validations in your resume, then maybe you're not ready. So maybe you need to get back to work and start to put in some work, put in some more work, and try to get out there even more, and until you actually get something. So I would say that's probably a good indication that you're not ready to apply yet if you don't have anything like that. But of course, there's always people that apply and just get a job without any of that stuff. So it's just a guideline wise, if you have that, for sure that you're ready. If you don't, still try to focus on things that are art related that you did. It's cool. Again, not really important in this particular case. But all that matters actually is your portfolio. So if everything so far has been really good, but then your portfolio is crap, then you're cut. That's the end of the line. Your portfolio is the most important thing. Once you've made sure that your cover letter is done, your resume is nice, and that shows your validation as an artist, and then that you have a really solid portfolio like we've talked before, then send this in and wait. So there's really not much that you can do after you send it in. Oftentimes what people really don't like, what studios really don't like, is when you follow up too soon or you follow up at all. Most of the time, if the company doesn't reply back, it's just that they're not interested, and maybe they're just too lazy to reply back, or they're just too busy. But what you can do is wait for like 6 months, wait for a decent amount of time. 6 months is usually a pretty good time, and there might be something that happens in that company. Maybe they're expanding all of a sudden or something, or like they're building a new team, whatever it is, and then they might be looking for something. Of course, you can always look at the news and see what's going on. But generally speaking, you want to wait for like 6 months and then reapply if you haven't heard back from them. But if you do that everywhere and nobody messages you back, then just keep working on it. At some point it'll click. At some point your art will seem interesting for those people. If it does, if you do get that reply, that they're interested in pursuing maybe the next steps for possible employment, what generally happens is that they will send you an art test, and that's something that you just have to do. It's something that most companies they do by default, if not all companies. Even if you have a really big portfolio and then they can clearly see that you're good enough, they still want to see you in action as if it was the real thing. So they'll give you a task, almost as something that you would do on your first day there, and then they'll see how you handle it and how you can complete it, if it's up to their standard, if it's something that they like, if that interaction between them giving you the topic and then the back and forth after that to kind of finalize the art test, seeing that interaction, how it works out. That's all important, because that's all indications of what would actually happen, if they were to hire you. So most places will have art tests. You just do that, then you send it in again, and then after that, once you've done something for them, then it's a lot more okay to kind of inquire about the process and the progress of the application. So after that, so maybe like a week after you've sent in your art test, you can definitely ping back the person that you're in contact with and ask them what's going on. What does the team think about it? Is there anything that you might want me to change, or whatever? Just ask what's happening, and that's fine. If you're gotten to that point already, if you've invested time for that company already, then it's completely okay for you to ask where things are. But and after that, it's pretty much what you've seen with my story. Sometimes you'll get to do a phone interview first, and then they get to talk to you in person, not just emails. Then maybe it'll be like a Skype interview. Maybe it'll be an in-person interview after that. Now, let's say you make it to that interview. What are the things that you should do, and what are the things that you should absolutely not do during an interview, an in-person interview? So, being in the position when I've hired and turned down a lot of people, there are definite things that definite like patterns that you want to avoid as an employer. And so most companies, most game companies at least, in films, you don't get to work that long on a particular project, so I would say that they don't care as much. They just care that you're really good, that they don't care as much as your personality. But in games, for sure, personality is really, really, really important. So you have to click with the team that's already there. So that's why they do this whole process. That's why they, the first interview, and then they bring you in for the in-person interview, where you get to interact with the team that you're, gonna work with sometimes, or they just have kind of like the leads talking to you, or maybe it's the art director. But yeah, regardless, what you want to do there is just show that you're really motivated about the game that they're working on, or if you don't know what it is, that you just really, really like their art style, something that you're really enthusiastic about. You have to convey that enthusiasm. That's so important. We've actually turned down people that didn't have it, that they might have had the skills, but they didn't seem like they were really interested in the style, or that they weren't that excited about the game. These people get cut. That's just how it works, and you can feel that with the enthusiasm of the person. So be really enthusiastic about whatever whatever game or whatever project that team is working on, or things that they've done in the past. And you have to be as humble as possible. It's one of those things that seem really, really obvious, if you're going for an interview for an art position, but so many people are just so cocky for I don't know what reason, especially in some cases they have no reason to, because they kind of suck. But even the good ones, like good artists that are like too cocky, you'll ask them questions and they'll be like, oh yeah, I just did that, in like an hour, and yeah, it's whatever, I won a bunch of prizes, blah blah. You can feel someone that's talking, not talking shit, but being the complete opposite of humble. That is never good. That will get you cut for sure, regardless of the quality of your art. Nobody wants that guy on a team. It's just poison for a team. So, everybody knows that. It's one of those things that you, even though you might be like a rock star, you might be like so good, if you come across as like that guy, you're just not ever gonna make it. So, I speak from experience, like not me being cocky, but like turning down people that could have been otherwise like a really good match. It's one of those things. It's such a bummer, and like they go through the entire process, the entire art test, and everything goes super well. You're like, oh yeah, like we're gonna get that guy. He's really good, and we're excited. And now he comes to the interview, and he's this guy, that cocky turd, and then ruins everything. And then yeah, you don't want to be that guy. And other things to look for, make sure that you look good. Of course you can't change your face, but make sure that that you took a shower before. It's one of those things that seems so obvious, but some people just don't do it, and it just boggles my mind of how applying for a big company, how so many people still do that. They just show up and they look a little bit dirty, or they kind of stink, or whatever. You have to be the whole package when you show up. You have to look nice. You have to be well put together. You have to be humble, even if your art is really good. You have to be able to talk with the people there. You have to try to be friendly. You have to try to kind of see those other people as others, like colleague that you would spend a lot of time with. And if they see you as that guy, that could be like really, really fun, like a good energy for a team, a good artist especially, but someone like positive, someone that they can feel would fit in. That's the kind of person you want to be. And now, like as far as the kind of questions that you get, it's pretty generic stuff. So if you had a job before, it's we tend to ask the same kind of thing. We'll ask stuff like, what makes you think that you'll be able to fit in here? What are what are the other jobs that you've had, and how do you think they apply to this particular job. It's really like typical interview questions, so you can probably find a bunch of those like everywhere. So I'm not gonna be spending time on this, but yeah, like just get ready for tricky questions, or if you get asked questions about your work, don't bullshit. It's things that we can always kind of verify, or be able to tell, if you're lying about the time it took you to do something, because that's another question that comes back. We'll point out a piece and we'll be like, so how long did that take you? And we most of the time know the answer already just by looking. So if you say something that's like way off, then it's like red flags, right? So if you don't know the answer to some of the questions, just be blatantly honest about it. That's always the better approach. If you don't remember something, just say so. Don't try to lie. That's like a really, really bad thing to do. Not just in life in general, but in in an interview. You want something that's genuine. You want someone that's genuine. You want someone that you think would be a really, really good fit, like a healthy fit for the team. That's when you work in a studio. That's one of the things that is super, super important. As almost as much as your talent as an artist. The team element is so important. If you are a freelancer, of course, you don't really have to worry about any of this, which is a good part. So if that's your ultimate goal, then spend more time working on your art, because that's pretty much all that matters. But if you want to work in a studio, team, being able to interact with people, super, super important. All right, and that is, as far as the the hiring process and all this stuff, that's pretty much it. Everything else, kind of what happens after that, now because of the of my story, and that's, as far as I know, a very, very similar story to most people. So yeah, that is pretty much it. So now let's go back to the art and see where we've come. So I'm pretty much done at this point. As you probably noticed, not much has changed. It just looks a little bit more polished. I've added this nice rim light kind of everywhere. Emphasized all my materials. Added a little bit more more highlights on the legs, and refined all my lines. And just overall, it's just polish. So you can see the difference between the two. Still fairly similar. So I simplified a couple things on the final version, so that to adjust kind of like the frequency of details in some areas, to make sure that it reads well, and that I emphasize my focal point, which is the face, as much as possible, and not anything else. And I think I'm in a pretty good spot. So that would be, that I would call this pretty much done, and I would be ready to save this and upload it onto to a portfolio website. So these are all the pieces that I have done so far. So that's all stuff that you can put on your portfolio. So as you can see, by building yourself a small fake project like this one, not only do you have something to explain to your potential employers as something that they would be really, really interested in. That's something that gets us really, really really motivated and really excited when we see this kind of thought process behind the art, especially coming from a concept artist. So definitely something you want to think about when you build your portfolio. Try to have these pieces that are coherent, and try to have kind of like those packages of images that that represent like small projects. So that is very, very interesting things to see from a recruiter standpoint, from a team standpoint looking to hire you. And of course, now that you have a bunch of different images, now that you've set yourself this small project, you have a lot of pieces that you can render out and add to your portfolio. So not only do you have a cool backstory for all of it, and kind of like a link between all the designs, but you also have a bunch of cool art that you can post. So that's what, like you can easily get 4 to 5 pieces out of this whole thing. And if you want to refine the variations a little bit more, then you get even more. So that gets you a big bump, a big level up to your portfolio. And I think that's really, really interesting. So that's why I built it this way. That's why I recommend this process. And with all that, now you have you know what to do for your portfolio, you know where to post your content, you know how to get that perfect portfolio, how to get something that is going to interest people, I think you might just be ready. So that is going to be all for this tutorial, this this guide to being a concept artist. And I hope that I didn't forget too much stuff or looked over too many things. If I did, you know, feel free to ask questions in the comment section of this tutorial. I'll be more than happy to answer them, you know, any kind of questions you might have. But yeah, guys, I really hope that this brought some value to your life, that you think it was interesting, that you think it might help in the future or might help right now. That's why I do these tutorials. I really hope that you enjoyed it, and thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening, and I will see you guys next time. Bye bye.